I'm going to be interviewing Jack Duncan, who is a Stetson graduate, and he went to school at Stetson from 1957 through 1961. And he's going to be talking a little bit about how chapels were made mandatory and how they kind of were Baptist affiliated and how the university became disaffiliated with the Baptist denomination. And then also giving like some personal stories about his experiences with chapel and also with his fraternity, Pi Kappa Phi. So what years were you a Stetson student during that time?
1957 to 1961.
Okay.
And I stayed a year longer and got a double major, so I left here in 62, but I graduated in 61.
Oh wow. So like what kind of organizations were you involved with
Well,
on campus?
fraternity was a big part.
Which one?
Pi Kappa Phi. And Margie and I got married when I was a junior, second semester. We got married in January, so we got married my junior year. So we had about 2 years here on this campus.
Oh,
and everything.
nice.
Yeah. You know, in the fraternity, you're involved, and they had the quiz bowl, which is kind of like Jeopardy or something like that, you know, and then intramurals and stuff.
So it was Baptist affiliated during that time? Or
Yes,
when you were a student?
the Baptists, I believe, were given about 10% of the operating budget and had control of the trustees. And so Florida Baptist really dictated a lot to the university. And I think there was a pretty good relationship. J. Al Edmonds was the president at that time and had been here for several years and had developed a pretty good relationship. But some of the things that came out of the 60s, things that you wouldn't even think of today, like dancing. You first of all, you couldn't dance on the campus.
Really?
And then they got where there was chaperoning, but you know, they found out that the Army was worse because the kids could sneak off and get drinks and stuff like that. Those kind of things that the Baptists looked at. And then I think theologically some things have started separating between the religion department and some of the more conservative Baptist positions. And when you got to remember that when you talk about Baptists, we're talking about a wide range of theology and positions on theological positions. And so you might please one group of Baptists, but not please the other. And so that always kept things a little bit of turmoil, I think, between the two.
You said like there's a wide range of Baptists. So how was chapels like? Was it mandatory? Like
I don't know what year it changed, but it used to be the chapel was every day.
Oh wow.
Mandatory every day. But when I came, you either had a Monday chapel or Friday chapel, and you had an assigned seat. They had a lady that checked the roll and made sure you occupied that seat. And you know, I was really surprised when I got here to realize that they had to go to chapel every week. But I had a friend of mine that went to Carson Newman.
Where's that?
It's up in Tennessee,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
Baptist affiliated. But we got home at Christmas time. I talked about going, and he says we go every day.
Oh,
so
wow.
So there are still some pretty conservative schools around that went to chapel every day. But I think you kind of resented being made to go to chapel. But as I reflect on the quality of it, it was really well done. I think not that I got much out of it in those days. Like some of my classes, I don't think I got a lot out of it. I regret that, you know. But in chapel in those days, the music school supported it tremendously. In fact, the concert choir, I think, would be divided in two parts, and one would go and do music for one Monday, and the other half would do on Wednesday. So that was well done. And then we had a man, Dr. James Stewart, had a Scottish brogue. He came as our chaplain, came from Riverside Baptist in Jacksonville, and was just an excellent preacher and speaker and a fine gentleman. And I think I remember when Desmond Tutu was here, he came back and he led the prayer, had the invocation, and I bowed my head and he started praying, and with that Scottish brogue, I felt like I was back in chapel. It was just deja vu. It was a tremendous experience, you know. So, you know, when I reflect on it, I realize how good it was, but not many students really appreciate it, I don't think. In fact, I was in a fraternity, and when I was a sophomore, I used to look for a pledge. And I would say, you know, my seat's A2 or whatever it was, I'd say, you need to be at that seat at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning or something like that.
And they
you
do
know.
it.
And they would go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they would do it. Pledges, you know, that's kind of their thing. And then I kind of got in trouble my second semester because they had ladies or girls that would check the
attendance?
Your attendance. And one of them that year, that second semester, knew me. So I kept missing, and actually you were allowed 2 cuts.
Okay.
But then after that, they started taking off quality points, a half a quality point.
What's quality points?
Well, that's your grade point average.
Oh,
In other
okay.
words, if you had say 60 hours and you had 120 quality points, that meant you had a B average. That would be a B average because a C would be actually 1 for 1.
Oh, okay.
So they would take off those quality points.
Wow.
And finally, I'll never forget this. The dean called me in and said, "Mr. Duncan, we don't care how many quality points you got. If you don't go to chapel, we're going to kick you out."
Oh, no.
So they were pretty strict on some of those things. So anyway, I used to go in and fall asleep. I can remember that. That was not good.
No.
Well, you know how it is in college. You know, you stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning. And chapel was at 10 o'clock, and that was a great time to play bridge. You know, that was over in the student union. We got to play bridge and say, well, what time is it? Because if you had like an 8 o'clock class, you'd be out at 9 in those days, and so you start playing bridge over there, which I like to. A bunch of us were over there, and then you just keep, you know, time goes fast, time would fly through, and you say, oh, well, I guess I just missed chapel again.
Oh, no.
I think in about 1966, 67, they dropped the mandatory chapel. They still have chapels they have today, but the students weren't required to go after that. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, that a friend of mine, Gary Meadows, worked in the admissions department, and he just retired a few years ago as the director or dean of admissions. And so I saw him the other day, and I said, having mandatory chapel, did it hurt you in recruiting the students? And he said, no, not really. We just didn't advertise it. So, and, you know, it's, most of them didn't realize until they got here that they were going to have it. But I think that in the 60s, that you know, that was a time of student protest. A lot of things went on in this university, and they finally just decided that if you're going to have to make somebody go to church, it's just not worth it. You don't get much out of it, because I can't remember just what the you know, I know there were some students that went, not me not being one of them, that appreciated chapel. And so if you did, then they still had a good chapel that, you know, you would go to, but I don't think I got much out of it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of kids did not. So anyway, I think in 66, 67 they dropped it.